There's a myth that we shouldn't eat carbs at all when we have PCOS or diabetes, but I'm here to tell you that's not true. Let's talk about it. I'm Dr. Kim Somerville, your medical doctor and clinical nutritionist, and I help women manage their PCOS and blood sugar. When we're thinking about enjoying our carbs while we have PCOS or diabetes, we have to think about two things: the type of carbohydrates and the portion size. Once you get these two things down, you'll be good to go. The reason why we constantly have to think about the type and portion size of our carbs is because a lot of persons with PCOS or diabetes have what we call insulin resistance. And this happens where our body isn't using the sugars from the carbs as well as it should. That now gives us different types of symptoms and signs and makes our body more likely to get into diabetes and complications from that. If you want to learn more about insulin resistance, I have a playlist here and you can check the description down below. So let's start off by talking about the different types of carbs and which one of them is best for PCOS. The first one we'll talk about is simple sugars. Now, this is found in any food or drink that when it's taken into the body, it's broken down easily or quickly into sugar or glucose. This happens in a lot of different foods that we actually really love. So in terms of beverages, there's sodas, there's juices. So that usually has a lot of simple carbohydrates or simple sugars. Then in terms of food, we have things like white bread, ice cream, sweets, pastries, cakes, cookies, all these things that we really love, but when we eat them, they're going to be broken down quickly and the sugar is going to essentially spike our insulin. That's not going to be the best for our insulin resistance, so we want to have these simple sugars as limited as possible. They still can be in our diet, and I'll talk about the portion size a little bit later in the video. Now, complex carbohydrates are the type that we want to pay the most attention to. They're the ones in foods that have a longer chain of sugars that are bound together. And when we ingest them, they're going to take a little bit longer to break down in our bodies. This is what we love when it comes to insulin resistance. The spike of insulin does not have to be so high, and you'll have more sustained energy. So what we're going to find when you eat complex carbs is that you're going to have slower digestion. This is going to make sure that you're fuller for longer. Remember, with insulin resistance, we tend to have more cravings than usual, even after we eat a meal. So if you have more complex carbs, you're fuller, longer, and you won't be having as many cravings. Another reason to have complex carbs is that it is going to make you have less fatigue. So in general, you're going to have more energy. We find that if food is broken down slower than usual, you have the sustained energy to at least carry you for 4 to 5 hours. So less fatigue, more energy. We love that. And another reason to pick complex carbs more often than simple sugars is the fact that it improves our gut health. These specific types of fibers in some of our complex carbs actually help to feed the good bacteria in our gut. And the more we feed the good bacteria, is the more it is going to help to improve our hormone balance. And that's definitely what we want when we have PCOS. So there is oats, and you want to get specifically rolled oats, old-fashioned oats, or steel cut oats. They are not processed as much as instant oats, hence they'll be better for fiber and complex starches. There's also rice. We don't have to give up rice completely if we have diabetes or PCOS. We can have basmati rice or brown rice. These tend to typically have more fiber than white rice. There's also quinoa and whole grain bread. Again, remember, we don't have to cut out starches, so these are some examples of that. Another group of starches that are pretty good for us are legumes or beans. I know that most of the time when we're thinking about beans, we're thinking about protein, but they also have a lot of fiber and starches as well. So consider ones like red peas or kidney beans, chickpeas, black beans, butter beans, lentils. These have a lovely amount of protein and complex starches, so you can add them by blending them in soups, blending them in sauces, and just cooking them with your rice or other type of meal as well. For us in the Caribbean, we tend to have a lot more ground provision or cooked food, and those include things like yellow yam, Irish potato, sweet potato, green banana, breadfruit, cassava, chocho. A lot of these things that we would probably get in our breakfast or lunch dishes, they're really good because they have the fiber and they have the resistant starches as well. Now, for some foods that you're buying in the supermarket that has the packaging with nutrition facts, what we want to look for is the total carbohydrates as well as the dietary fiber. We want the total carbohydrates to be as low as possible and the fiber to be as high as possible. We're usually looking to get about 25 grams of fiber each day. And for men, you're looking to get at least 30 grams of fiber. That's usually not what happens with a majority of us. So as much as you can, look at those nutrition facts and find out how much is in one serving. For example, let's compare whole grain bread to white bread. This whole grain bread has about 3 grams of fiber, 17 grams of carbs, and 90 calories per slice. Sounds pretty good, but let's compare it to one slice of a white bread. This slice of white bread has 1 gram of fiber, 28 grams of carbs, as well as 139 calories. So as we can see, we have less carbs in the whole grain bread, more fiber, as well as less calories. That's exactly what we want to see when we're considering what type of carbohydrates we should be adding to our diet. In terms of the portion sizes of the complex carbs or even the simple carbs, it's all going to be individual. The portion that I'm going to have may be very different from the portion you're going to have. That will help us to manage our PCOS or our diabetes. For example, for my clients, if it is that they're having white rice and they're not liking basmati or brown rice, I would suggest having half cup of cooked white rice. Another clients, based on their activity level, I may tell them that 1 cup of rice is good for them. Okay, and then for some persons who eat simple carbohydrates, I would say having that probably twice a week would be better than having a dessert with simple sugars every single day. It is really about you, your activity, your weight. It really depends on you. If you want to have a personalized dietitian or a personalized nutrition consult, then check me out in the link in my bio that will bring you to the website and you can make an appointment there. I hope this information helped you today to let you know that when it comes to PCOS or diabetes, we don't have to get rid of carbs altogether. We just have to think about the type and the portions that we're eating. You don't have to go to keto. You don't have to go to a very, very low carb diet in order to see a positive change in your PCOS or diabetes. Thank you for being here. This is Simple Summer Naturals and Dr. Kimberly Somerville. I'll see you next time.